Thank you for watching and listening. I just want to share some stories, and this one happened when I was 9 at Block 437. So I suddenly had high fever, and I was left alone because it was on a weekday. Everybody has to go to school and go to work. So before that, the stepmother kept feeding me food, feeding me porridge, and she kept telling me to die, just die. Why don't you just die? Things like that. And So I was left alone. My fever was very high, and I felt something drop at the back of my nose and was blocking my nose. So I couldn't breathe. I was panicking. I was struggling. I was alone. I couldn't call anyone. And I remember I was scratching at my nose and trying to get the lump out of my nose. And yeah, finally managed to pull the lump out of the nose, and it was a solid red lump. It was a mucus. It was solid, and it had veins and curves on it, whatever it was. So I started getting sick frequently from then onwards. So one day, because I could not recover, I kept getting sick and sick, to a point where I even go to school with fever because I couldn't recover for that many weeks. So the one time that I was brought to the doctor, okay, she convinced us that we are poor, we don't have money, but those are all not true. Because if you don't have money, you should have gone to polyclinic because polyclinic is cheaper, right? But for some reason, she decided to bring me to a private clinic, private GP at Musling area. And when I was there, the doctor, I remember the doctor, I don't know whether he's racist or he's part of the cult, I'm not too sure. And he looked pissed, he looked annoyed, and he couldn't care less, and he just said 42 degrees is a normal temperature for children. So he was very dismissive, and I was thinking to myself, I was remember I was having fever, I was still was struggling to stand up straight. And his behavior was very uncalled for. So because of that fever, I was very traumatized. I didn't like doctors anymore because of the way I was treated as well at that clinic. So I generally prefer to go to the herbal route, like you go to TCM, or you drink coconut water, things like that. And that's when I started having stomach issue as well, because from that clinic I was given a lot of antibiotics. So I was convinced that my stomach issue was because of the antibiotics, because I started burping out loud. I have more food sensitivity. I can't eat this, I can't eat that. I was having stomach ache, burning sensation in the stomach. But come to find out that it's a recurring thing. I'm always the one who's sick. And to a point in secondary school as well, I will go to school still having fever and still try to smile and things like that. And when I do get brought to when they do bring me to polyclinic, it's usually when the fever has subsided down a bit, you know. So to a point, I was made to think that I was a nuisance because I keep getting sick. I kept getting sick, and it cost money, right? Almost every month it was like that. And to a point, the stepmother would just write a letter to the school in primary school saying, I haven't recovered, because we couldn't keep going to the doctors, right? So come to find out, according to the medium, she had been poisoning. So when I was 9, they were doing a ritual, and a combination of the ritual plus poisoning. I was supposed to die at the age. Hence the reason why I kept getting sick. As the reason why she looked annoyed, and then she started telling me that I was a nuisance, that I menyusahkan dia. Menyusahkan means like you give her trouble, you're a burden to her, and then she would tell me to die repeatedly when she was feeding me the porridge. Um, so then I always felt like I was like a burden or something like that. Hence the reason why I became more self-reliant, and I don't really trust doctors from then onwards. And then I went on to, and then fast forward to when I was maybe when we moved to block 748, sometime when I was 19 or 20. Okay, because the stepmother is a narcissist. She managed to brainwash us into thinking our father is a bad guy. So my father eventually left because every day there was some kind of fight that will be started by her. She will go to one person and just egg this person on, and next thing you know, siblings will fight with one another. She and the first sister will do this. She and my first sister both are the type that will bully, abuse people, and instigate a lot of fights with one another. This is what narcissists tend to do. So to a point that my father left, we don't really have much relationship with him anyway. At that point I was like annoyed with him because I thought he was irresponsible, financially irresponsible. But recently I found out that the reason why they kept selling the house was because he was manipulated by the stepmother, and the stepmother did it intentionally because she doesn't want us to have stability, and at the same time to escape from all the confrontation by the people that she had targeted. I just remember at Block 437, the Malay couple actually confronted her. And then I remember my father was having headache, and then she kept nagging, telling him to sell the house and other things like that. So this is what she does. She will use something against you, and then she will manipulate and manipulate. You have no choice to do what she wants because she won't stop nagging. In hindsight, we should have just matched the energy. But unfortunately, my paternal side and second sister, myself and my brother, we follow the paternal side, the more passive type, they don't want to be easily bullied, because if you just say a couple of times, we be like, okay, whatever, we just want to pacify, just want to stop it, we just do whatever you want. So while we were living at Block 748, after my father left, she convinced us that we were poor, and she refused to pay the water bill, light bill, so sometimes we live in the dark. Seriously. We used to light candles in the house. But she convinced us that we don't have money and things like that. But somehow she always has money for herself. So it was all intentional. Come to find out, every single time she did it intentionally, to a point that we didn't have a home and we had to live with people and find a place to rent. Uh, so that's the one thing I dislike about Singapore's housing system. You're very dependent on people, very dependent on if you on your parents, and we have parents like her, you're gone, you're done for. So somehow she decided to rent out a room, and she rented it to this Pachi. He was a very nice man, and there's a pattern. The narcissists will always look for people who are kind, and the cult members, majority of them are narcissistic, so they will go up, they will always approach you, you will never approach them, they will always approach you. Okay, and they will come up to you using all kinds of sob stories, because she used to say her husband is abusive, her husband is a lazy man, her children are not naughty, the children are bad, the children are unfilial, anak derhaka means unfilial children. She used all kinds of conservative and traditional toxic system to tug at your heartstring. And then people are people, because when you're raised in that community, you tend to be more empathetic. You're done for, you are her perfect target. So this pakcik, this uncle, somehow decided to help her and rent a room from her. He was a very nice man. I remember he was very gentle, very calm. And suddenly I had fever. I kept getting sick, and I got a fever, and I had a big swelling on the neck, and nobody in the house bothered because I was really really sick. And this makcik was the one who brought me to polyclinic. And I remember while we were waiting there, because I was like my eyes were half open, I was having headache, I was exhausted, too tired, and the eyes were burning from the fever. And I remember him saying, he being very restless, his hands kept like, kenapa tak buat pergi doktor, kenapa sakit dia biarkan macam gitu, kenapa. He was like, why when somebody is sick, why didn't a family member help, why? So he was being frustrated, and he was very nice. So he was the one who brought me to the doctor. And of course, doctors being doctors, there's a reason. The one I encountered didn't take it seriously, and then she even said, hey, you got a lump on your neck, eh? Okay, here MC. Things like that. I don't know. It's a thing with some of these toxic people, and so Fast forward to some other time. I remember because I was still having headache and being exhausted and things like that. That was because of the prolonged poisoning. She had been apparently mixing, according to the medium, Imodium, Bucopan, and some kind of herbs. I don't know what her cult used. I probably know how to put things in people's food, because what I saw my father went through, I went through, because my father was like that. Exhausted, too tired, couldn't work, and things like that. It was because she had been poisoning him. And she did the same thing to me, because that's her job. The cult's job is to get rid of you. And anyway, back to that uncle. Suddenly, I saw him at the living room, trailing after her, talking to her, and I don't know what he was saying, but I remember blood dripping. And next thing I knew, he left. And she came back, she got angry. She said, anak pakcik tu cakap aku yang buat dia, aku yang kasi. Padahal dia kena buat asyik apa, bukan aku yang buat dia. She like that. So she was saying, hey, that man's son confronted me, told me that I was the one who did rituals on him. I did kind of voodoo black magic on him. But it's not me. He was one who has hemorrhoids. And she said that, you know. And again, the attitude is like, and again, with the you deserve it attitude. So turned out again, she had done something to him. So that's the running pattern. The cult and the cult member, she's not the only one, by the way. I'm telling you this because the cult have existed for many, many generations, and some of you are going through the same thing I went through. The reason why they did all this, the bullying, the abuse, the harassment, the setup, and all this was because they need to sacrifice people, and they cannot make it obvious. So how the first ritual they do is basically someone in the family will pass away in their sleep, or like a sudden pass away, like the heart stop working, things like that, and the next person will be cancer, right? So my father was supposed to get cancer, but somehow he managed to survive that part. And because that ritual didn't work on him, hence the reason why they used the marrying route. This is what they do. They will try to get one of the members to force their way into your life, and they only can do it if you allow it. And that's because you are empathetic, you have no boundaries, and you're easily gaslit. They lie and manipulate. They use kind of thing like, my ex was so nasty to me, I used to get bullied at school. And the bullying, the one that told me about how she got bullied at school was the friend from polytechnic who also turned out to be part of a cult. Every single one of them will come to you. Every single one of them will harass you first, will name call you, everything. And the main reason for that is so that they can come closer and closer, eventually become your friends. And when they become your friends, they would defeat in a lot of toxic negative thoughts, to a point that you start thinking that and self-sabotaging to keep you anxious and whatnot. Again, every time I try to talk about this car, my nose will itch for no reason. So that's the general pattern. So do not fall for people's sob story too easily. And they are very persistent. These people, they are very, very persistent. Hence the reason why I kept saying mirror their energy, right? How they treat you, you treat them the exact same way. They know whom to target. Okay, they know they will find people who are passive, who are empathetic, and people who are soft-hearted. Some people, they appear, they have a resting bitch face. They appear very very fierce, but they have a soft heart. So that's the reason why they will come up to you to tell you all kinds of sob stories. And by the way, the cult members, they are of many generations. So you have elderlies, you have youngsters, teenagers, children, anyone. They will always lie and manipulate to get to you. That's the main goal. So it became a pattern, right? It became a repetitive pattern, but because we are so ignorant, it never crossed our mind. It was suspicious, but we never crossed our mind, and that's the reason why it continued. So that's the reason why you Taking the high road doesn't work. Be the bigger person doesn't work. Some people, they need to get burned before they learn not to mess with you. And you play with fire, you're gonna get burned. It's just that I and most of the people who are targeted, we were the too nice type. We were nice, we were kind to the wrong people. We were loyal to the wrong people. We protected the wrong people. We spoke up for the wrong people. So be discerning, okay? Set boundaries with everyone and everything. Thank you for watching and listening.